You ever see a grown man in a Harvard office crumble up a world-famous math riddle like it's nothing but yesterday's to-do list? Because that's honestly where my story starts. No warning, just a cold Thursday, 6:42 p.m., Professor Gerald Whitmore standing there with a mug of cold coffee and this look on his face like he's about to throw away a piece of history. And yeah, that's basically what he did. He tore a problem, the infamous Collat's conjecture, right out of the entrance exam, muttering, "No one's going to touch this. It'll scare them off." Then he just tossed it. Gone. Problem buried again. And while all that drama was happening upstairs, I was down in the guts of the building, sneakers scuffed, fingers stained with ink, just another 14-year-old with no student ID and no business being at Harvard after hours. I was with my grandma Ruth. She cleans classrooms here to pay the bills, and sometimes I tag along, mostly because we need the spare change but also because these marble hallways, they kind of feel like home after a while. That night, my job was easy: grab the flattened cardboard and clean paper from recycling bins. And in one bin, right on top, I find this crumpled page, Harvard letterhead and all, looking fresh. So, naturally, I smooth it out. Maybe it's the nosy side of me, and I see this puzzle. Just numbers and a couple of rules, simple as breathing. Start with any number. If it's even, cut it in half. If it's odd, multiply by 3 and add 1. Repeat. And you know what? I'd seen something like it before, in a ratty old math book that got me through some lonely afternoons, pages missing, stains everywhere. But it made me believe numbers had secret doors. That night, crouched by the bin, I pulled out a piece of cardboard and started sketching, not numbers, but the way they move. Arrows, curves, loops. It didn't feel like math. It felt like watching leaves spin down a street and fall, some tumble, some dance, but somehow, every single one finds the same spot at the end. I sat there for who knows how long, just drawing, listening, waiting for something to reveal itself, until Ruth called me home. I folded the puzzle and my sketches, tucked them away, and left the hallway darker but somehow more alive. Back in our apartment over the laundromat, Ruth made chamomile tea and hummed a tune, the kind that makes the lights flicker and the floor creak with stories. I kept thinking about that puzzle, copying the rules, drawing patterns, tracing motion instead of equations. The question kept scratching at me: why do they all end the same way? I didn't know the answer, but I knew the question was worth something. It had already been thrown out by a professor, ignored by a whole institution, and here I was, some nobody kid, holding on to it like treasure. Next morning, while most kids my age were hitting snooze, I was already up, sketching, tracing those sequences, seeing things I couldn't name, a number diving, then leaping up before crashing, others zigzagging like they're running from something. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't tired. I was obsessed, honestly. Ruth peeked in, teased me for thinking before breakfast, and I just grinned, stuffing my sketches in my bag, headed right back to Harvard. There's this seminar room I love. It's got a full wall of chalkboard and almost no one ever goes in. I closed the door, wrote out the rule in the corner, and started mapping the numbers, not as equations, but as trails. Some paths crashed quick, some spun out for what felt like forever before folding in. I drew boxes around places the paths crossed, marked those spots again and again, wrote a single word: why? But you know how things go, every secret finds its witness. Maintenance guys showed up. I panicked, wiped the board, bolted. But I left traces behind, white chalk ghosts and the number 27 underlined 3 times. Not that it meant anything to the janitor, but he noticed. Turns out, Professor Whitmore noticed too. Couldn't shake the memory of the riddle he'd tossed. Couldn't shake the feeling maybe someone had picked up what he'd thrown away. Meanwhile, I was drawing on brown paper behind the library, charting new sequences, watching as different paths crashed into each other like skipping ropes, chaos that made sense if you timed it right. The idea kept bugging me. What if it's not just a pattern, but a message? Then the twist, right? Janitor calls the professor, says he found work well beyond undergrad, drawn in chalk in a locked room. Whitmore's spine straightens. He remembers why 27 stuck with him, because its sequence climbs, then crashes in a wild, almost stubborn way. Now someone else is drawing it. But who? I didn't know he was watching. I didn't know my little habit of drawing on chalkboards was setting off faculty alarms. I only knew I felt different now, less like a curious kid and more like I had some kind of responsibility. That night, Ruth gives me soup and a newspaper, my riddle, printed as the local puzzle of the day. Clue 16. It climbs, it falls, it always ends the same. Not an answer, but maybe the beginning of one. Monday, the building hums with that Harvard energy, students running proofs on napkins, professors pacing, chalkboards full of things I barely understand. But underneath, something shifted. Custodian Walter erases my diagrams but hesitates at 27. Professor Whitmore rereads the draft he trashed, wonders if the puzzle's breathing again. Back in my corner, I'm charting out a new path, this time starting at 41. Watching where one number's journey drops into the next, like origami folding into itself. Every time I copy the puzzle, it's not the equation that changes, it's me. A few days later, I get bolder, start leaving sketches, even a letter, to whoever threw this question away. I think it's not a problem, it's a mirror. I'm not solving, I'm listening. Ruth finds the note, folds it, lights a candle beside it. Next morning, I find my usual seminar room closed, note taped up, room reassigned, so I camp out on a stone bench, sketchbook in my lap, still chasing the thing inside the question. Meanwhile, the powers that be are stirring. 3 faculty in a room, arguing about what to do with the girl who hears numbers. Some want to put my work on a stage, some want to publish before I even know what I'm saying, some think I need structured guidance, like you can structure what you haven't even learned to name yet. Whitmore just wants to listen. Things build from there. Committees want interviews, professors want to support my trajectory. There's pressure to present, to showcase, to prove I belong, to do everything except what I actually came to do. Ruth warns me, they'll want to use your voice before you know how to protect it. That's how it always starts. The next day, my favorite chalkboard is gone, my safe space erased. That's when I realize, maybe it's time to make my own room. 3 blocks off campus, there's a busted-up garage no one rents. I sweep it out, tape up foam boards, build my own wall, sketch in color, red for rise, blue for fall, gold for loops. I don't name it. It doesn't want a name yet. But it grows. It listens. Back at Harvard, they're arguing over what to do with me, whether I need a mentor, a PhD student, or a TED Talk. Whitmore fights for space, not a stage. I draw. I dream. I pivot. The night Ruth brings me toast and warm milk, I tell her I found a new thing, a place where 4 sequences pivot, not just meet. It's not a landing, I say. It's a turning. She nods. Then it's still growing. Eventually, Whitmore finds a node I've slipped under his door. No one gets to rename this. He comes to the garage, umbrella in hand, no fanfare. He walks the river of sketches. I show him my latest discovery, sequences that turn at the same angle even if they don't land in the same spot. It's rhythm, not destination, he says, and I grin, because finally, someone's hearing it. I didn't invent it, I tell him. I'm just listening. He says, that's contribution, not just curiosity. Pressure comes again, committees want me, but Whitmore tells me, if you say no, say it because you know what yes is worth. I hang a new spiral on the wall, the room that listened back. That's me. Soon after, I get an invitation. No logo, just 6 words. You may speak if you wish. It's a quiet meeting, a circle of faculty, no stage, just a lamplit chair in the center. I don't sit. I just show my spiral, 1 word at the center, still. If you only measure what moves, I tell them, you'll miss what holds it all still. Then I leave. No applause, just a professor whispering, I've never felt more like a student. That night, Ruth gives me a plain envelope. You've built a language worth waiting for. Next day, the old seminar room has a new message. This seat has no name, but whoever sits here will not be interrupted. Back in my garage, I hang a new page, what happens after silence is heard. I turn out the light, not because I'm done, but because I don't need to prove it's real anymore. You tell me, what would you do with a question nobody else wanted? Would you toss it, chase it, or build your own room to listen for the answer? Because sometimes, justice isn't about solving. Sometimes, it's about leaving space for the next person to speak. So, what do you think? Does the world need more answers or better questions? Let's hear it.